Hello, church. Good to be back with you again. Hey, we're gonna talk about the book of Daniel this week. We are not actually having class this week in our auditorium. We've got John Reese from World Bible School coming in. He's going to teach both adult class and worship. So we are not going to have a class this week, but I wanted to do this quick video to kind of help us prepare for next week's lesson in Daniel chapter 8. And I think this is going to be helpful for us. And I'm going to try to show you how this subject is going to connect to the book of Daniel. Okay, so today I'd like to talk to you about the Apocrypha books. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with these or not, but these are actually Old Testament books of controversy. And the controversy is, should they be in the Bible? Should they not be in the Bible? And we're going to talk about that today, okay? Because this is going to actually connect us to the book of Daniel. Now, when you get into the Apocrypha books, there's actually, if you get on the internet, you're going to see different lists that are given, which is kind of strange. Some people say, well, these should have been considered as the Apocrypha books. No, here's a little different list. And these are all writings that are outside of the Bible. Now, where do we find these today? Well, today we find them in our Catholic Bibles. In fact, I have a Catholic Bible right here. I've got actually 4 of them. And on this site here that I pulled up, it says, in addition to books of the Old Testament, in our Catholic Bibles, you will find 14 additional books. Actually, these Catholic Bibles that I have only have 7 extra books and some extra chapters of the Bible. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a minute. They're called the second canon. Now, our Protestant Bibles don't consider these part of the inspired Word of God, but some of them are very historically accurate. And we're going to see the difference between a book being inspired by God versus being historically accurate. Okay. So, my Bibles, my Catholic Bibles in my office here, this is the list of other books they have. They're called the Apocrypha books. It's called the book of Tobit, Judith, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, Wisdom, Syriac, Baruch, and then it's got 2 extra chapters in Daniel, chapter 13 and 14, and some extra chapters in Esther, chapters A through F. And they're kind of scattered through the book. Okay, so in fact, even when you get to the book of Daniel, I think it's chapter 14, it's about a dragon. And even the Catholic Bible, in its comments to the side, will say that it's a made-up story, and yet they still include it in their Bibles. Okay, all right. So there they are. Now, this is going to help us to understand Daniel chapter 8. Because Daniel chapter 8 is going to give us a prophecy that's going to point to the future. And that prophecy is going to be found, fulfilled in some of these very historically accurate books of the Apocrypha. And that's why we need to know about them. And specifically, the book of 1st Maccabees. So this is where we're going to focus in on. Is the book of 1st Maccabees. Now, when I was in preaching school, they actually made us read both 1st and 2nd Maccabees because of the fulfillment that Daniel prophesied about. Okay? And the fulfillment is found in chapters 1, 4, and chapter 6 of 1st Maccabees. Now, let me give you a timeline. So here's the book of Daniel. This is the one that we're focusing on. And Daniel wrote between 605 and 535 BC. Okay. Then you come to the book of Malachi. Now, Malachi is our last book in our Old Testament. And it's dated about 420 BC. So that ends out our Old Testament. It's the last book. Jesus doesn't come, and our New Testament doesn't start writing until 4 BC, which is right behind my picture. Sorry about that. So that gives a gap of silence from God of about 416 years. Nothing was said from God. It's a pretty good sized gap. No prophets, nobody was sent. That brings us to the book of Maccabees. The book of 1st and 2nd Maccabees falls right in here. This is where the timeline falls in, and it tells stories of things that really happened. So it's between about 169 and 163 BC. Okay, and again, Daniel is going to prophesy about things that will actually happen in the book of 1st Maccabees. Okay, now you see why it's important for us to know that book. But here's what I want to show you. Are these books inspired, and do they belong in the Bible? Well, you find something interesting. Here's Maccabees, and just to tell you a short story, there's going to be this guy named Antiochus Epiphanes, and he's going to come down and just wreak havoc in Jerusalem, okay, in Judea, and he's going to put a pig on the altar, and he's going to kill a lot of people, and the Maccabees are going to come in and run him off, okay? Now, when they run him off, and they're trying to get things back in order, watch what it says in 1 Maccabees 4:46. It says, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Now, this is an important verse. Here's Maccabees. He's writing with his own pen. And Maccabees is saying, look, we're looking for a prophet, but we can't find one. We haven't had one come yet. Now, what does that tell you about Maccabees? He's not a prophet. He's not inspired by God. And he said it with his own writing. So what does that tell you about the book of 1st Maccabees? It does not belong in the Bible. See, when we go and we try to find if gold is genuine or not, what we do is we apply an acid test. They take this acid and they put it on gold. Now, if it changes color, then it's not real gold. But if it holds the color, then it's real. Okay, and that's an acid test. Well, we actually do the same thing with the Bible in a sense. We don't literally put acid on it, but to see if books should belong in the Bible. So then we come to the Apocrypha, and the question is, does the Apocrypha hold up? Now, here's one of the things you tell about if a book is genuine or not, or if it should belong in the Bible or should not belong in the Bible. And one of the ways we tell is we look for, like, say, these books right here. Do other writers talk about things that are written in these books? And guess what you find? Other writers in both Old and New Testament do not reference these books. So there's no confirmation going back and forth. But see, when we talk about the Bible, for instance, well, the Bible does do that, right? Jesus will talk about Noah, right? Jeremiah will talk about Daniel. Daniel will talk about Jeremiah. They confirm each other. We have all kinds of examples like that in the Bible. These books, we have none. So it doesn't pass the acid test. Also, one of the things that we look for with Old Testament confirmation was the Dead Sea Scrolls. In about 1948, there was a little boy that was over by the Dead Sea, and he's throwing rocks up in these caves, and all of a sudden he heard something break like glass. Okay, well, he climbed up there, and it was actually a clay pots, and it had all these writings, and these writings were copies of our Old Testament books. Well, when were these written? Well, they were written by the Essenes about 200 years to 400 years before Jesus came to this earth. And those copies match up with what we have in our Old Testament. So that confirms that the writings were true. Things were not added or subtracted when Jesus came here. Because see, some people use the Dead Sea or use this theory that, hey, people just wrote Jesus into the Old Testament. Well, no, that's not true. Once we found the Dead Sea Scrolls, he was already written in them before he ever got here. So that disproved that whole theory. Now, what does that have to do with with these Apocrypha books? Well, the Apocrypha books, um, there's only a couple of them and parts of them that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Most of these books are not even found in Dead Sea Scrolls. So that shows you that we don't have that confirmation like we do the other Old Testament books. And it was not widely distributed, okay? And like our Old Testament books were. These books were not done that way. So we have some problems here. And so when you combine that with what Maccabees said, he's not a prophet, and you put all that together, the books, well, sorry, they don't fit. They don't fit in the canon of the Bible. So they are not inspired by God. So the books of First Maccabees is like this Civil War book that I have. This is very historically accurate. It tells about Abraham Lincoln, about other things of the Civil War and the Civil War times. It is very accurate, just like the book of First Maccabees. The history fits perfectly with other history books and also the Bible. But it's not inspired by God, just like this Civil War book. So just because it's historically accurate does not mean that it belongs in the Bible. All right, well, I hope that was helpful for you. Helpful for you to understand that even though this book, these books are in our Catholic Bible, they do not belong in our Bibles. But some of the things that are foretold are actually fulfilled in the book of First Maccabees. And when we come back in the, next week, and we get into chapter 8, I'm going to actually read some of the things that is said in the book of Maccabees that will match up perfectly in the book of Daniel. And then you will see the prophecy fulfilled. And it will show you that the Bible is an amazing book and how it all puts together. I hope I didn't lose you too badly in that, but you go do your own research on these books, and hopefully that'll help you. If you've got some more questions, you just come on by the office here, and we'll try to put things together and see if we can't make some sense of it. All right. Well, God bless you, and I hope you learned at least something today anyways. All right. We'll keep trying. See you next time.